Advisory services are offered through Creative Financial Designs, Inc., a registered investment advisor, and securities are offered through CFD Investments, Inc., a registered broker-dealer. Member FINRA and SIPC, 2704 South Goyer Road, Kokomo, Indiana, 46902. Phone 765-453-9600. Dussault Financial Services, LLC is not owned or controlled by the CFD companies. Neither Dussault Financial Services nor the CFD companies provide legal or tax advice. Advisor is not registered in all states.
Good evening and welcome to Rock Solid Radio. I'm Linda Hutchinson, the Executive Director of Rock Solid Families.
And I'm Merrill Hutchinson, President of Rock Solid Families. And we are excited to have you join us for the next 30 minutes as we talk about relationships. A huge shout out to our sponsors. Thank you to Maxwell Construction, Greendale Cinemas, Mansfield Insurance Agency, and Erie Insurance. We are so thankful for these businesses who have made this show possible. So whether you are listening live or online, Rock Solid Radio, helping to strengthen our community one family at a time on your hometown radio, Eagle Country 99.3. Good evening, Eagle Country. Welcome to Rock Solid Radio. Hey, this is Merrill Hutchinson of Rock Solid Families, and tonight we have a special guest in the house, and we are going to talk finances tonight. So I'd like to welcome Michael Dussault. Michael is a financial advisor with over 39 years of experience in the financial services industry. He has a master's degree in finance from the University of Cincinnati and has taught finance and insurance at Miami University and is chartered financial consultant. Mike and his team, Mike's son Kevin and office manager Holly Woods, have an office on the west side of Cincinnati and serve over 200 clients, mostly in Ohio, Indiana, and Kentucky. Dussault Financial Services over $60 million worth of clients' investments and assets. And Mike is a security and insurance licensed in Ohio, Indiana, and Kentucky. Mike in his fourth year as an elder at Whitewater Crossing Christian Church in Cleves, Ohio. Mike, there you go. There's your intro. So can you live up to all that you just...
You know what? That's hard to do, Hutch, but I appreciate the chance to be here with you, and I appreciate our friendship and just the chance to have your listeners, engaged today.
Yeah. Well, Mike, you and I got to know each other over the last year or so through a huddle, right? It was a Bible study, so to speak, and just started to realize the gifts of each other, right? We all come wired different ways, and your wiring is different than mine. Like, you get numbers and all those, and I get numbers, but not at the level you do. And the more that I hung around you, the more I thought, man, this guy is very analytical, and I really appreciate that. And so it's coming to find out that you're into the finance industry and all that. And so tonight, I invited you in for the idea of sharing some of your history, your knowledge, and just helping us as consumers figure out what money is, what it is in a Christian's eyes, right? What Scripture tells us about it. So welcome to Rock Solid Radio. All right.
Well, thanks, Hutch.
So before we get started, I have to do a few of my own housekeeping items. I want to say a big thank you to our sponsors. Thanks to Maxwell Construction, Greendale Cinemas, Mansfield Insurance Agency, and Erie Insurance. We want to thank our sponsors for giving us the opportunity to be on these airwaves and to continue to reach out through Rock Solid Families and Rock Solid Radio, and hopefully to impact people in the kingdom of Christ. And so we just pray that our message is clear and is helpful, and so we thank our sponsors for that help. Also, we've got some announcements for Rock Solid Families. Our Strong Dads podcast is actually something that we've been working on for quite a while now, and so Kyle Crawford and I have come together, and that show is going to actually come out, it actually starts in August and will start to be released every Friday or Saturday, depending on when it comes out to you. So it's the Strong Dads podcast. And so be looking at our website, also on Facebook, and the Strong Dads, or Strong Family, Rock Solid Families, you'll see that posted there. Also, our finishing classes are going on 6 days a week. So if you're tired of sitting around and you're seeing that you did not hit your summertime weight that you thought you were going to, which, by the way, Mike, you are one lean, mean machine. How much weight have you lost?
Oh gosh, from the far up to the far down, probably 35 pounds.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. So we talk a lot about fitness, and I got the exercise part down right, but the eating part, it's really hard to shut that hole sometimes, isn't it?
That it is. That it is. That was the biggest challenge for me. The exercise part always been easier.
Yeah. I'm pulled to that, but the eating part's been a challenge. So anyway, we can help you out at Rock Solid Families through our finishing and exercise classes or personal training. So feel free to give me a call. You can reach us at 812-576-7625 or rocksolidfamilies.org. And so please look forward to talking to you and joining us. So let's jump in and talk a little bit about money, all right? Why do we even talk this? Well, the whole idea that we know, and Lynn and I know from working in Rock Solid Families and doing marriage and family coaching, probably for sure in the top 3, if not the top 2, things that couples argue about and even oftentimes split over is somehow money related or lack of or management of or whatever. And so the Bible speaks frequently about money and its use. And we know that money is not necessarily a food, water, food, or those type of necessities, but it is the means to get those necessities, right? And so when we don't manage it well, we find our necessities not being met. So anyway, with that idea, Mike, let's get rolling. So what, based on your 26 years, what are the biggest obstacles that you see dealing with finances?
Well, and that's a great question, Hutch. I would say the first one, and there have been so many articles lately about it, even in things like the Inquirer and Wall Street Journal that I read daily. Lack of an emergency fund. Most of the standard financial press out there will say at least 3 to 6 months of essential living expenses in a federally insured type of account, a bank account, savings and loan, credit union, something like that. So again, not an investment, but really the money parked for emergencies. I think that's
money
a big
that
one.
you could get your hands on relatively quickly.
Exactly, and that's the great point. And the word is liquidity. So it's got to be liquid and not tying your money up. That's where the emergency fund should be parked.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I think sometimes, like, we have investments and we go, okay, well, we're okay. But the idea of getting your hands on that investment, what kind of risk would you take or penalty would you pay or whatever to pull that out, right? So you're talking nearly like, and I don't want to say this, but sticking it under the mattress, kind of.
So to speak, exactly. But that's right. And so you could get out the next day if you need to.
Yeah.
It's important.
Okay. And you're saying 3 to 6 months?
Yes. I think that's really important. And, of course, the more variable the income, the higher end you should be on that. So if you're in commission sales, maybe it's 6 or more months.
Yeah, the lack of predictability in your paycheck and that type of thing.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Okay. Well, right away, there's one of those things I need to work on. I'll get working on that. Actually, Lynn and I went through Financial Peace, the Dave Ramsey program, and that's stressed very heavily in that program as well. And that was something that we always kind of knew that we should do, but until we actually put our feet to the pavement and did it, it just was an unfunded liability, right? Emergencies happen, and we didn't have a way to fund them. So now we're a little bit better off with that. All right, so what's, give me another obstacle.
Well, I'd say, again, another obstacle to financial peace, a huge one, is too much debt. So things like credit cards, car loans, mortgages, home equity line of credit, college loans. I think college loan area is probably maybe the next area to explode.
Yeah, this one's tough. I remember growing up when credit cards were really just becoming the big thing. My parents starting to use them. And I remember my mom joking about how she had plastic money and how freeing that was. And they got themselves into financial problems because it got out in front of them. And so credit card debt is one of these things, and I think a lot of people, especially young kids, just don't understand how quickly they can get themselves into trouble with that credit card.
It's all too easy, just way too easy.
Yeah, it works to our comforts, doesn't it? No, I can just get this now. I want it now.
Yep.
So what is, can I talk just about college loans? All right. How else do I go to school then?
Yeah, well, that's a great point, I think. And some of this ties to the discussions I've had with my granddaughter who just graduated from high school.
Yeah.
And she's going to work for a year.
And not go to school.
And not go to school. She calls it a gap year. And
Okay.
So I think that's a great way.
Yeah.
And she may be going to community college to save some money for the first year or so and get her core courses out of the way and save a lot of money compared to a traditional four-year university.
Yeah. You know, we had, several weeks ago, we had a guest who was a counselor and advisor at one of the area high schools. And now many of our high schools are offering dual credit, college credit opportunities. And those kids at this school were able to get an associate's degree and on average pay $25 per credit hour through their high school years. So get 2 years of college at $25 a credit hour versus $2,500 a credit hour if they actually had to go to the college and pay for that. So that's just a change of thought of how I'm going to cover this college thing.
It's a great way to do it. And you wind up with a degree, assuming you finish it, which can be a challenge, but you wind up with that four-year degree from the four-year more prestigious institution, if you will.
Yeah. So I know we're going to talk about mortgages and all those other things a little bit more, but so debt's very real, and you and I have shared, you've shared with me some of your story. And, a lot of, if it's okay with you, I'd like to tap into your story a little bit because you're a financial advisor, and I don't want to hurt your reputation, right? But you've been very bold about walking through the process that you went through. Can you tell us a little bit about how debt made you a better financial advisor today?
Well, I'll tell you, Hutch, back in 2012, I shared this story with 1,200 of my closest friends at the time, Whitewater Crossing Christian Church. My friend and our pastor, David Vaughn, asked me to share my story and how it ties into materialism. So I shared my story, and then the short version of that is that decisions I made with debt, and believe it or not, financial dudes aren't immune from making financial mistakes, and I made my share, so I'm not perfect. And then when you combine that with the Great Recession of 2008 and the stock market severe drop in 2008, this really caused some big challenges for my wife Connie and me.
So help me out. So you basically over-leveraged or out-leveraged yourself. You spent more, and then being in charge of investments and sort of things in 2008, the stock market went bottoms out, right? And you didn't have enough to cover it. Is that what
well? Exactly.
Saying?
My income dropped significantly, and but again, coming through the other side. Yeah. I'm a lot better off for it.
Yeah, and you can share this if you want to or not, but so did you actually have to declare bankruptcy?
Well, I did actually, and I did a Chapter 13, and but again, with God's help and Connie's help, repaid that 100%.
Yeah.
So, and God restored the income.
So, what did it do in terms of Mike, the financial advisor pre-2008 versus Mike, the financial advisor post-2008? What's different about your approach to money and investments and so on?
Well, I'm very, very confident that I'm a lot better financial advisor. And again, I would liken this to, who would you want to give advice to your child or grandchild not to do drugs? Well, it's the person that's done drugs and come through the other side. They've got a story to tell. So likewise, this was a long time ago in 2010 that this happened, but because of it, not despite it, I'm a lot better financial advisor, so I can speak more, even personally, to the evils of debt and the challenges of that and how it gets in the way of financial peace. So, I'm a lot better advisor, but I'm also a lot better many other things, better dad, a better husband, better grandpa, a better church guy, just a better friend, a better lot of things because of it.
Yeah, well, I think sometimes what happens is we go from being book smart to being life smart. And, you mentioned the idea of the best person to counsel an addict is a former addict. And I'm not an addict, was not an addict, although I do love sugar. And
Don't we all?
But I did have a personal experience, and it still continues to be part of my life with anxiety. And very real, and I've shared it on our show before, my whole story about anxiety. And for that reason, now when I work with somebody that deals with depression and anxiety, I don't read it out of a book. My self-help program is not, well, let's go to page 5 and we'll see what it says. And so there's an empathy difference that I have now. It's like, I have felt the crazy that you're feeling right now. And so that's just pretty cool that you're no longer reading out of a book in terms of how people should invest and carry their money, right?
That's so true. And I think empathy is a big part of that, is that I can relate to people more with the challenges they're going through, whether it's financial or health or other things. I've just been able to connect with people more and just appreciate what they're going through, even though I haven't necessarily, like you mentioned with addiction, haven't gone through that particular item myself.
Yeah, because I think from the outside, when I see somebody that's going through bankruptcy or they're managing money poorly, I kind of say they need to get their act together. When I see somebody with anxiety, I'm like, they just need to chill out and relax. When I see a drug addict, I say, they need to sober up. And those are all meaningless words to the person who's actually in it. And again, I'm just as guilty. I've looked at people and said, he just needs to get a job, But there's a person inside of that problem. And trying to figure out a little bit more of how I tap into that person, I think, is essential to actually helping them. And so I just thank you for, even when we talk, the empathy that you show towards other people is just really cool, and I pick up on that. So,
well, that's great, and that's how God has, humbled me and made me more usable to make a difference in people's lives. And, I thought back in the day, I even challenged my decision, should I stay in this industry? God, what would you have me do? Well, what I've seen is post-2010, again, God has used me to, despite all my faults and whatever else, to touch and make a positive impact on other people's lives, and the business has grown significantly since 2010. So I'm just so thankful.
Yeah. So I'm going to throw a curveball at you, okay? So you're talking about saving money, investing money, and all these kinds of things. What is your take on giving money, tithing, getting rid of it? Because that hurts sometimes when I see the check that I write. I go, wow, I could have so many more toys. But okay, I'll go ahead and do this.
I think, and that was one of the, looking back on it and coming through the other side, Hutch, I think the giving part of it, that ties to the best financial decision that Connie and I have ever made in our lives. And that is continuing to give and tithe and go above and beyond the tithe, even in the challenging times. And, I know that you and I have heard some great preaching from David Vaughn about this topic. And again, I think the motivation is key. We don't give to get. So, God knows where our hearts are.
Yeah.
So we don't give to get. But again, and as David says it so well, it's not what God wants from you. It's what he wants for you. And that's so true. It's the best way, I think, to look at just giving back to God and just responding to the love and mercy that he gives us.
So, but I think there's something here too that we've talked about. When I hold on to money, like with a death grip, because it's mine, it actually starts to own me. and you and I have talked before, when I learn to just give it up, give it away, the freeing of that, and you start to actually put money in its proper place. How can you speak to that a little bit? Like when you were going through your bad time, and you said, you and I have talked about this before, going through your bad time, you still did everything you could to tithe.
Oh yeah, and we did, and so yes, we made that choice, and again, that was the best choice, responding to God's word in Malachi, and again, not to give to get, but it's like, okay, do we want to be obedient Christ followers, or not?
Right.
So that's our choice, and and how we respond to that. So, and to me, the whole part of it too is that it's an opportunity to just show that we do trust God, take Him at His word. And, we've talked about it in our small group even, that again, like even in our church, and this is common in many churches, that half or more of church attenders give zero. And again, I'm not here to judge or shame or guilt people. That's not the issue. But rather, it's just a wasted opportunity. And I think some of these opportunities are in the challenging times, and just realizing that God does own everything.
Yeah. Well,
and so to the point, we want to hang on to it because maybe we grew up, depending on our faith background or lack thereof, that we owned it. It was ours. Well,
I finally
truly
got
it isn't.
this, and I'm not going to let it go.
Yeah, and realistically, I was in my 30s before I figured that out. So who owns it?
Yeah.
It's not me. So God gives us the ability to work, to serve others in our workplace. So, how do we respond to God in that decision to tithe or not? And in my business, Hutch, I've heard the term used so often. Financial independence. Well, this ties into that whole idea, whose money is it? I totally reject that term because we're not financially independent. And thanks to God that we're dependent on Him, that we are indeed financially dependent. And
dependent on
God. For everything. For
Yeah.
every blessing. And again, it's a God who loves us. And so part of our act of worship is how we respond to these blessings that God gives us and who He is.
Yeah, that's so it really just gets back to that whole idea of not letting money own us, not letting our materialism own us. And so maybe does this, can I have too much money? Right? Can I have too many material things? And so what is your take on wealth?
That's a great question, and part of me, my first answer to that would be, okay, God consistently asks through His Word, where's your heart? So I think that's the answer, is that where's your heart? Who or what are you worshiping?
Yeah.
If it's stuff, and again, if the stuff owns us, as you said, and again, our friend David Vaughn has said so many times in messages, when the stuff gets you or the stuff owns you instead of vice versa, where's your focus? Where's your worship? So it can be too much, but again, person A could be way too much with X dollars. The next person could have double or triple that, or a couple extra zeros on the back end, and not have too much. Because he or she has a heart of giving and a heart of serving God, using that to make a difference.
Yeah, that stingy hermit that lives, that's got $1 million under their pillow, but yet is very selfish with it. They probably have too much money.
And again, as the old saying goes, it's so true, you can't take it with you.
Right.
And so, to put your faith, hope, and trust in that is foolish.
Yeah. Those are just great points. But I think what we're talking about here is more of an understanding and philosophy of money to set up the idea. Then, okay, so then what am I going to actually do with the money, right? What's this going to look like on the other side? So we've been talking about the most common obstacles to keeping us from financial peace. Are there any other things that you see that we really need to be thinking about when we're talking about financial peace?
Well, I think, again, one common area is just simply not saving enough for retirement. I know we'll talk about that in more depth next week. But I'll tell you, I've seen over the years, Hutch, the people that have done a great job with savings have started young, and they've taken advantage, and we'll get into this more later. But, for example, employer matches inside workplace retirement plans.
Yeah.
Just starting at a young age when they didn't make a whole lot of money or when their salaries were low, but they pounded that retirement savings at a young age. So I think that's a huge obstacle. And again, the path of least resistance is not to do it,
right?
To satisfy those desires for current purchases. And again, it's just ingrained in our society.
Yeah. Well,
the instant gratification and materialism that, again, all of us as humans can fall into that trap.
Yeah. We've all heard this, like if I would have just saved, $10 a week when I was 20, I would have been a millionaire or whatever by the time I retired. And whether, I don't know all the math on that right now, but I do know that it felt so insignificant to me. Like, oh, $10, really? So I don't do it at all, right?
Yeah.
And it's, here you go, I'm at retirement age. And where did all that time go? And so it's really that not understanding the future, the magnitude, exponential growth, right? We've talked about those things before, and learning that. It's such a shame that our kids, us as a society, really don't have an education of money and how it works.
That's so true. And, I've been doing this for decades, and when I look at the power of compound interest, I'm still amazed by it. It truly is amazing. For example, and we'll get into this next segment, but for example, if somebody is eligible and they start a Roth IRA saving for retirement, let's say they started at 30.
Yeah.
Again, just with the math behind it, you can get doubling upon doubling, if, historical returns, just based on historical returns. Of course, we can't use those to necessarily predict the future, but we can look at the past and say, wow, what a difference that made for that person that started at 30, and maybe they're 60 now and just retired, and look what happened to that, retirement account balance. Just hugely powerful.
Yeah, and the gift that it is to their family, to their spouse, to the other people that are relying on them. Man, Mike, so we have really just scratched the surface on how we think about money. Thankfully, this is a two-part show, so you're not going anywhere, right?
I'm here.
You're coming, and what we're going to do, listeners, is we're going to go ahead and close things out because we're running close to out of time, and we're asking for you to tune in next week to actually get a lot more of the nuts and bolts of what we do with our money, okay? And so this is such an important topic, and it's an important topic because Satan will use money to make us feel inflated, make us feel false, make us feel everything that God doesn't want us to feel, right? It's an incredible tool that Satan also uses. And when we learn to manage that tool, we put Satan in his proper place. So this is a very important topic. Mike, in the meantime, I know this is not a show to advertise for you to get you business because you're plenty busy already. But if somebody wanted to contact you, would it be okay if I gave your number out?
That'd be great, Hutch.
Okay, so you can contact Mike at 513-574-8594, and that is dusoldfinancial.com is your website. Is that correct?
That's right. And email is mike@dusoldfinancial.com, DUSOLD, financial.com. And again, if you do contact us, listeners, please do mention that you're a Rock Solid Families listener. and there's no cost or obligation for an initial consultation.
Yeah, hey, that's great. So you give a free consultation to get people started.
And I would also invite your listeners to be donors like Connie and I are for your ministry.
Oh, well, we would definitely appreciate that for sure. So, well, hey, with all that being said, we want to thank our sponsors. We want to thank Maxwell Construction, Greendale Cinemas, and Mansfield Insurance Agency, and Erie Insurance. Thank you very much for listening, and tune in next week for the how-to, the part 2 with Mike Dussault. All right, thanks a lot, listeners.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Rock Solid Radio. For help or more information about what you've heard this evening, contact us at rocksolidfamilies.org or call us at 812-576-ROCK. That's 812-576-ROCK. Again, a huge thanks to our sponsors, Maxwell Construction, Greendale Cinemas, Mansfield Insurance Agency, and Erie Insurance. If you have questions you'd like answered on air, or you want to chime in on something you've heard this evening, go to our Facebook page, Rock Solid Families. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to tune in next Sunday evening at 7:30 for another episode of Rock Solid Radio. I'm Linda Hutchinson, and for my husband Merrill and I, thanks for tuning in to your hometown radio, Eagle Country 99.3.
Advisory services are offered through Creative Financial Designs, Inc., a registered investment advisor, and securities are offered through CFD Investments, Inc., a registered broker-dealer. Member FINRA and SIPC, 2704 South Goyer Road, Kokomo, Indiana, 46902. Phone 765-453-9600. Dussault Financial Services, LLC is not owned or controlled by the CFD companies. Neither Dussault Financial Services nor the CFD companies provide legal or tax advice. Advisor is not registered in all states.